The short answer is for an extremely long time, that is, thousands of years. The galley was used in the Mediterranean from an unknown time in the past, but the earliest known records are from Egypt during the Old Kingdom between 2700 and 2200 BC. From this time at least, and all the way up to the 19th century, galleys were in use. That is a period of more than 4,000 years, making the galley the longest used larger seacraft in existence. The galley did show a tremendous variation during this time, however, but some defining features remained the same throughout. One defining feature of a galley is that its main means of propulsion is human muscle through the use of oars. Galleys were often also equipped with mast and sail, but these were always a secondary means of propulsion when the wind was right. The original sail for a galley was a square rig needing to go downwind. In the Middle Ages, a fore and aft rig with a lateen sail would be adapted from other vessels, improving the windward ability. But always oars remained the primary propulsion, giving excellent maneuverability in calm weather. The galley was originally developed in the Nile region and spread from there up the coast of the Levant to the Phoenicians that would expand the reach of the galleys significantly. The Phoenicians were the primary sea traders of the eastern Mediterranean during the Bronze Age. It was through their ventures towards the west that the galley spread across the Mediterranean and to the Greeks around the Aegean Sea. During the early Iron Age, the Greeks used galleys heavily as they spread their trade and colonies across the Mediterranean. Thus, through the Greeks and the Phoenicians, the galley became common all across the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. The galley was well suited for the conditions of the Mediterranean with its predictable onshore and offshore winds during the summer sailing season. Furthermore, the galley was excellent at maneuverability because its primary propulsion is rowers and oars. It is a testimony to how well suited the galley was to the Mediterranean that it remained in use there until the advent of steamships, even through the age of sail with all the advanced wind-powered vessels. Outside the Mediterranean and other enclosed waters, the galleys suffered severe drawbacks, however. It is not well suited for rough weather or water due to the opening for the oars. Thus, the galley itself was a limiting factor for further maritime expansion beyond the Mediterranean and the coastlines beyond Gibraltar and down the Red Sea. The early Greek galleys were triaconters and pentaconters with 30 and 50 oars and one level of rowers. The development in the classical and Hellenistic period was towards larger galleys with more levels of rowers that could drive forth the battering ram at the front of the galley. This led to the bireme with two levels of rowers and the larger trireme with 3 levels on both sides. Find a link to my video about the trireme below. This arms race started due to the introduction of the ram as the main weapon of the galley rather than the original boarding strategy. The strategy of increasing numbers of rowers continued until the Roman era, where their dominance ended the need for large combat vessels. The Roman era saw the increased use of the Illyrian Liburnians that were small compact biremes with 25 oars on each side. Later in the Byzantine and medieval era, the galley evolved into the dromon, armed with Greek fire. Indeed, the galley came to be platform for a wide range of weapons through its history, from rams, boarding bridges, catapults, Greek fire throwers, and finally cannons. Usually the structure of the galley meant that the weapons of the galley would be carried at the bow, meaning that the galley would charge head-on. The cannon-carrying galley would thus also be an effective siege weapon against coastal installations, as the galley could be rowed close and only had a limited surface against the enemy. This also made them useful against ships like the galleon that had its main attack from its sides, which was a problem in the narrower waters near the coasts in the Mediterranean. The use of the galley as a gun carrier reached its zenith at the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. After that, it would increasingly be superseded by hybrid ships like the Sebek of the Barbary Corsair pirates of the Algerian coast that were more based on the use of Latin sails than oars. During the Age of Sails, the galleys would thus still remain in the Mediterranean and even came to be used in the Baltics by the Swedes and Russians due to its usefulness in the narrow island-filled waters. All throughout these thousands of years, the base structure of the galley would remain the same. It continued to be defined by its long hull, low freeboard, and shallow draft, and only finally was rendered obsolete by the introduction of steamships. Until then, the galley had its place on the waves.